Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This exciting deep dive where we explore one of the most astonishing discoveries in modern numismatics, and today we are taking you into the unbelievable world of the 1996 D5-cent piece, a coin that collectors whisper about because of the mind-bending possibility that a single example, under extraordinary circumstances, has been estimated by private collectors and high-end auction analysts to be worth up to $124 million due to a cluster of extremely rare errors, shocking mint anomalies, and once-in-a-lifetime mistakes that transformed an ordinary nickel into a legendary treasure. So get ready to understand why this unassuming coin could be hiding earth-shaking value in your pocket change, and why enthusiasts across the world dream of uncovering one of these incredible 1996 D non-standard strikes that defy expectations and redefine rarity as we know it. Because when we talk about coin errors, we usually imagine minor doubling or small die cracks, but the 1996 D5 cent is on another level entirely due to a mysterious combination of minting failures, transitional oddities, unexplained planchette behaviors, and alignment distortions that merged together to form a perfect storm of value. A storm so intense that experts have theorized multiple scenarios that could have produced an ultra-rare specimen unlike anything routinely struck at the Denver Mint, making this coin's story one of intrigue, speculation, and electrifying potential as we unravel the kinds of mistakes that could justify such a colossal figure, and why this specific year and mint mark play such a significant role in shaping that possibility. Because the mid-1990s were a period of high coin production and rapid machinery cycling at the Denver Mint, where large volumes of nickels demanded non-stop operation. And whenever production pushes machinery to its limits, the chances of extreme breakage, die fatigue, and mechanical misalignment grow dramatically, which sets the scene for the types of mint errors that could escalate a common coin to a multi-million-dollar phenomenon. And one of the most widely discussed possibilities involves a dramatic multi-strike error where the coin may have been hit by the dies 2, 3, or even 4 times with partial shifting in between strikes, a process that could create overlapping images, ghostly profile impressions, doubled lettering, warped Jefferson portraits, and distorted Monticello detailing that collectors prize beyond imagination. Because a multi-strike performed unintentionally inside the minting chamber without ejecting the coin is one of the rarest events in circulation-grade coinage, and when combined with off-center placements, it becomes exponentially more valuable. But the theorized 1996 D masterpiece goes beyond standard multi-strike behavior, as some experts hypothesize that the planchette itself may have been a transitional outlier, meaning the metal blank used to strike the coin was not the standard 5-cent copper-nickel alloy but possibly a leftover or experimental blank from another denomination or test batch, which would instantly catapult its value because transitional errors are some of the most valuable numismatic anomalies ever recorded, and the idea that a 1996 D nickel might exist on a foreign planchette, an incorrect composition, or even a blank intended for a commemorative strike introduces an entirely new dimension of rarity, especially if the coin's weight and metallic signature deviate from the standard 5 grams and copper-nickel composition, which in itself would make the coin worth tens of thousands, but when paired with extreme striking errors, could create the $124 million legend we are discussing today. And another contributing factor could be a rotational die alignment error where the obverse and reverse die faces are rotated significantly from each other, creating an unusual twist between Jefferson's portrait and the Monticello building, a type of error that collectors obsess over when the rotation is dramatic enough, sometimes exceeding 90 degrees or even a full upside-down misalignment. And when these extremely rare alignment mishaps happen in the same specimen as a multi-strike or off-metal situation, the value skyrockets beyond imagination. And on top of that, we also consider the possibility of a double planchette strike where 2 blanks accidentally overlapped in the press, causing one to imprint on the other in a distorted, layered fashion that results in strange texture patterns, clip edges, incomplete rims, and oddly shaped fields that defy the usual appearance of a 5-cent coin, which is an error so rare that only a handful of examples exist across all denominations. So if such a dramatic collision occurred during 1996 D nickel production, it would create a one-of-a-kind artifact that collectors would battle intensely to acquire, driving the potential price into surreal territory, and another compelling scenario involves a catastrophic die break where the working die fractured severely during the strike, leaving behind a massive die cut, thick raised metal areas, missing parts of design, or heavy cracks stretching across Jefferson's face or the Monticello building. And while die cracks and cuts alone do not command huge prices, their combination with multi-strike actions, transitional planches, or alignment errors multiplies their value dramatically, especially if the coin captures the final moments of a die that only produced a handful of strikes before shattering completely, turning those last surviving coins into instant legends. And we also cannot ignore the possibility of a dramatic broad strike where the collar, which normally holds the planchette in place, fails to engage, causing the coin to expand outward without forming a proper rim, often creating a wide, flat, distorted shape that looks nothing like a typical nickel. And if a broad strike occurred alongside a rotation or double strike, the outcome would be incredibly unusual and visually striking enough to make collectors pay almost anything for it. And when you imagine all these errors stacking together, you begin to see how a 1996 D5-cent piece could theoretically become one of the most valuable modern mint errors ever discovered, especially when we consider the psychology of the numismatic world where advanced collectors, museums, investors, and rarity-driven buyers compete aggressively for unique pieces that cannot be replicated, and where the story, the romance, and the impossibility of the minting mistake become just as important as the physical coin itself, adding intangible prestige that inflates its desirability and therefore its value. And when a coin crosses into one-of-one status containing rare errors not seen in combination anywhere else, its price becomes limited only by the highest bidder's willingness to pay, which is why analysts theorized such an extreme figure like $124 million because, in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, records are broken whenever impossibility meets opportunity, especially for modern coins where such extreme anomalies should not exist, making their existence even more astonishing and valuable. And in addition to all these structural errors, there is also the possibility of a legendary off-center strike so dramatic that only a sliver of Jefferson's portrait remains visible while the rest of the coin displays blank metal or extreme distortion. And while moderate off-center strikes are relatively common, extremely severe ones that still retain the date and mint mark are incredibly rare and worth huge premiums. And if that off-center strike were paired with a second overlapping strike, a rotated reverse, or an incorrect planchette, then we would be looking at a specimen worthy of creating a new benchmark in the coin market. And finally, the mystery intensifies when we consider the Denver Mint's production environment in 1996, where high-pressure aging equipment and rapid mass output could have allowed a rare and unnoticed anomaly to slip through. And if such a coin still survives today, it may be hiding in a private collection, a safe deposit box, or even in someone's old jar of change without anyone truly understanding its potential, because the numismatic world has proven time and again that extraordinary treasures often appear unexpectedly, transforming ordinary people into instant millionaires when they discover a mint error so shocking that it defies logic and rewriting the history of modern coin production. And that is why the legend of the 1996 D5-cent worth $124 million continues to captivate collectors worldwide as they examine every nickel from that year under magnifying glasses, searching for clues, hoping to stumble upon that mythical combination of strikes, shifts, breaks, compositions, rotations, and anomalies that make this coin a symbol of what makes numismatics so thrilling, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating for anyone who dreams of finding a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. Next, 2003 P5-cent USA coin. We deep dive into one of the most unbelievable stories in modern coin collecting as we explore how a humble 2003 P5-cent coin, something most people would overlook in their pocket change, has been reported in rare cases to reach an astonishing value of up to $125 million because of a combination of unusual minting errors, extraordinary die mistakes, and extremely rare striking anomalies that collectors consider once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. And today we will explore every possible reason, every tiny flaw, Every strange imperfection and all the unexpected details that transform this simple nickel into a legendary treasure that coin hunters across the world dream of finding. Because when a coin from such a common year suddenly appears with highly dramatic minting defects, the numismatic world pays close attention. And in this script you will learn not only what makes the 2003 P5 cent so special, but also why experts speculate that a few unique examples with extreme errors might command astronomical prices far beyond what anyone could have imagined. So stay tuned as we walk through the fascinating world of off-center strikes, wrong planches, die cracks, double dies, planchet impurities, metal layer separation, mule possibilities, and even more mysterious anomalies that combine to build the myth of this coin's multi-million-dollar potential. And imagine starting with a normal Jefferson nickel minted at the Philadelphia Mint in 2003, a year in which millions were struck, but suddenly discovering that among those millions, a handful contained dramatic mistakes that slipped through quality control at a time when rapid production speed sometimes allowed rare oversights. And those oversights can create mind-blowing errors that collectors hunt aggressively, pushing values from a few dollars into the hundreds, thousands, millions, or in the most extreme hypothetical cases tens of millions, depending on rarity, condition, and the magnitude of the mistake. And one of the most talked about aspects of the 2003 P nickel is the potential for an extraordinary double die error that affects both the obverse and reverse, creating doubled facial features on Jefferson's portrait, such as doubled letters in Liberty or I in God We Trust, or even doubled steps on Monticello. And while minor doubling is somewhat common and does not lead to high value, extreme doubling involving multiple layers of misalignment or dramatic displacement can turn a normal coin into a high-value rarity. And then there are the rumors in the collector community about an ultra-rare wrong planchet strike, where the 2003 P nickel was accidentally struck on a leftover planchet intended for a foreign coin or for a different US denomination. And if such an error occurred with a planchet containing a unique metal composition or incorrect thickness or weight, it could attract extreme bidding wars from wealthy collectors who specialize in exotic mint errors, especially when such coins come with clear mint authority and authentication. And this leads to the possibility of mule errors as well, one of the rarest categories of all, when a coin is struck with mismatched dies from two different denominations. And while the US Mint has only confirmed a few mule errors in history, the possibility that a 2003 P5 cent mule could exist fuels intense speculation. Because if a 2003 nickel were mistakenly paired with a die from a dime or a quarter, or even an unused experimental die, the result would be a one-of-a-kind coin whose value could easily skyrocket to extreme levels, given that mule coins are considered holy grail finds among error collectors. And another major factor behind the incredible valuation is a dramatic off-center strike that is so severe it distorts the entire design, leaving a clean, wide blank crescent of metal while pushing the portrait and lettering to one side. And although mild off-center strikes are relatively common, a perfectly centered, high-grade, extreme off-center strike with readable date and mint mark is extremely desirable. And some theorize that if one particular 2003 P nickel were struck more than 70 or even 80% off-center while still displaying the full date, it could command premiums no one would believe, especially if combined with additional errors like broad striking, clipped planches, or multi-struck effects. And speaking of clipping, the possibility of a double-clipped or triple-clipped planchet on a 2003 P5 cent adds even more intrigue, because when a blank metal disc is misfed into the punching press, it may result in curved, crescent-shaped sections missing from the rim. And these dramatic visual errors attract passionate attention from collectors who love coins that tell a vivid story of their chaotic journey through the minting machinery. And when combined with lamination errors where layers of metal peel away due to impurities or inconsistent alloy mixing, the coin becomes even more unique. And lamination flaws can stretch across Jefferson's face or Monticello in unpredictable patterns, creating striking visual textures that make the coin appear almost sculptural. And high-grade examples of such errors are extremely rare, further increasing value. And then we consider die cracks, die gouges, shattered dies, and cuds, which are caused by stressed or damaged dies that develop fractures, leaving raised metal lines or entire rim breaks on the finished coin, and on a 2003 p. nickel, a spectacular die crack that runs from Jefferson's forehead to the rim, or a full die cut over Monticello could become a centerpiece in a serious error collection, and in the most dramatic cases the entire rim may collapse into the coin, creating a massive raised blob of metal that interrupts the design. And collectors love these visual anomalies because they display unmistakable evidence of mint malfunction. And then we must think about multi-strikes, where the coin was struck more than once due to mechanical misfeeds, producing overlapping impressions that blur the design, with doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled outlines that make the coin look surreal. And while many multi-strike errors are slightly misaligned, an extreme multi-strike combined with rotation or pivoting between strikes forms a spectacular centerpiece for an error showcase. And if such a piece exists in the 2003 P nickel series, it would generate enormous collector competition, and there is also speculation that a handful of coins may have been struck using improperly annealed planchets, meaning the metal was heated incorrectly, which can cause discoloration, grainy surfaces, strange rainbow hues, or uneven hardness that affects the strike quality. And when such errors occur in conjunction with other anomalies, the coin becomes exponentially more valuable, especially when authenticated by experts. And condition plays a huge role in boosting value as well, because a dramatic error in poor shape might attract interest, but a dramatic error in a high mint state grade, especially MS67 or higher, can turn a rare coin into a priceless one. And if a hypothetical 2003 P nickel with multiple extreme errors were discovered in gem condition with full steps on Monticello and razor-sharp detail, collectors would quickly escalate bids in pursuit of such a trophy, propelling prices far beyond the usual range. And this is where the legendary 125 million figure comes in, because high-end collectors and institutions sometimes treat unprecedented multi-era coins not merely as collectibles but as historic artifacts worthy of museum prestige, and such extremely rare combinations of mistakes can send values into uncharted territory when bidding wars erupt among wealthy enthusiasts who want to own the most dramatic mint failure ever recorded. And even though most 2003 P nickels are worth their face value, the possibility of a once-in-history coin hiding in circulation inspires treasure hunters everywhere to check every nickel they find, examining for doubling, misstrikes, planchette flaws, missing details, strange weight variations, unusual metal colors, and any unexpected deformation that might point to something extraordinary. And this excitement drives the myth and magic behind stories of million-dollar errors, reminding viewers that incredible discoveries are still possible in everyday pocket change if you know what to look for. And as you explore this world, remember that collectors chase rarity, dramatic visual appeal, authenticated mint mistakes, and historical importance, all of which contribute to legendary valuations that keep growing as demand increases. So as we wrap this script, keep searching every coin, because the next extraordinary 2003 P5 cent might be waiting right in your hands. And if you enjoy learning about rare coins, unusual errors, and the excitement of finding treasure in ordinary places, make sure to like the video, share it with others who love coin collecting, and subscribe to the channel for more thrilling discoveries and big money coin stories. Next, 1994 P5 cent USA coin. Today's journey takes us into the astonishing realm of the 1994 P5 cent coin that has been reported in collectors' circles as being worth up to an incredible $128 million because of a combination of extraordinary mint errors, shocking anomalies, surprising production flaws, and unusual circumstances that have made this seemingly ordinary nickel transform into a legend among numismatists and treasure hunters who are always searching for that one unbelievable piece that can rewrite the entire history of United States coinage. And as we move through the story, you will find yourself more and more fascinated by how something as small and common as a 5-cent coin can become the centerpiece of one of the most thrilling numismatic mysteries ever recorded. So get comfortable as we unfold layer after layer of details, theories, mistakes, and possibilities surrounding the 1994 P nickel that has captivated collectors and inspired countless coin enthusiasts to examine every pocket change in hopes of discovering a hidden fortune that might be sitting right under their fingertips. because the 1994 P5-cent coin is not just a piece of metal but a symbol of how mint errors, rare combinations, production anomalies, and historical circumstances can combine in unexpected ways to create a coin worth a staggering amount of money beyond anything one would expect from a regular Jefferson nickel. The mystery and value of this coin begin with the unique environment of the Philadelphia Mint in the early 1990s, a time when machinery upgrades, shifting production demands and increased mintage volume created conditions where unusual errors became more possible than usual, and certain batches of 1994 P nickels show evidence of significant die deterioration, striking anomalies, and mechanical issues that occurred during the minting process, leading to some extraordinarily rare error varieties that have driven collectors absolutely wild, because even one of these extreme errors can multiply a coin's value hundreds or thousands of times. But the 1994 P5-cent coin we are focusing on is believed to contain a combination of multiple errors occurring simultaneously, creating a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that is nearly impossible to replicate. And this is exactly the reason collectors speculate it reached the astonishing speculative valuation of $128 million, driven by rarity, mystery, legend, and the near impossibility of another identical example ever surfacing again. Some researchers and collectors claim that the coin originated from a malfunction involving a misaligned obverse die that created an unusual portrait distortion on Thomas Jefferson's image, where his profile appears to stretch slightly toward the rim in a way that does not match any known standard striking error, while at the same time the reverse die reportedly suffered a clash event where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchette in between, leaving ghostly impressions from one side visible on the other, and when such a die clash happens it normally creates faint lines or shapes, but in this mystery 1994 P nickel the clash is said to be unusually strong, creating a reverse image that almost appears doubled and overlaid with shapes resembling Jefferson's silhouette bleeding into the Monticello design, which is not only highly unusual but mind-blowingly rare. And when collectors encounter such impossible or nearly impossible combinations, the value skyrockets, because rarity is the ultimate driver of numismatic prices. Another part of the legend surrounding this coin includes the possibility that the planchette itself was flawed, either containing a significantly off-metal composition or having been created from an improperly mixed metal blank, meaning that the nickel might show unusual coloration, texture differences, or density inconsistencies that would make it extremely distinct from typical copper-nickel alloy coins, and some reports even suggest the possibility of a transitional or experimental planchette category, where the mint may have been testing mixture variations that accidentally slipped into normal production, though official documentation confirming such a planchette anomaly from 1994 has never surfaced, which only adds more fuel to the rumors, speculation, and theories about how such a coin could have been produced in the first place and how it survived long enough to eventually be discovered by collectors who understood the magnitude of what they were holding. Many believe the extraordinary valuation is also tied to the combination of dramatic errors stacked on top of one another, because when you take a misaligned strike, a double or triple die clash, a planchette anomaly, possible off-center elements, rim distortions, die cracks that may run from Jefferson's eye to the edge of the coin, unusual die polishing marks that form bright mirrored patches, and perhaps even incomplete strike zones where the pressure was uneven, you get a coin so unusual and so visually striking that it becomes one of the rarest error coins in modern United States history. And collectors know that when rarity meets visual drama and historical mystery, prices are no longer limited by normal market patterns but instead are driven by the imagination and passion of high-end buyers who might be willing to pay astronomical amounts just to own something truly one of a kind. Another reason the 1994 P nickel became so valuable in numismatic storytelling is the absence of confirmed public photographs, detailed catalog records, or verified auction archives showing the coin, which has created a myth-like reputation around it, similar to legendary pieces such as the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1933 St. Gordon's Double Eagle, coins that became famous partly because they were mysterious, rare, and surrounded by lore. So the 1994 P nickel has developed its own aura of unattainability, making collectors even more obsessed with tracking down examples that show signs of similar errors, hoping they too might discover something incredibly valuable in their own collection. And this excitement has caused a surge of interest in examining even ordinary 1994 P nickels for potential hidden anomalies that could elevate their worth far beyond face value. Many collectors and researchers also point out that the Philadelphia Mint in 1994 was responsible for producing hundreds of millions of nickels, and high-volume production runs are statistically more likely to produce striking errors. But extremely complex and dramatic combinations of errors are incredibly rare because the machinery usually stops when something goes severely wrong. So when a coin displays multiple significant mistakes, it often indicates it slipped through unnoticed during a moment of intense production pressure, allowing it to escape the mint before quality control systems detected it. And this possibility of a coin slipping through with stacked errors is part of what drives the mythos of the 1994 P nickel, inspiring people to believe that any pocket change nickel could be the next multimillion-dollar discovery. In addition to physical errors, there are theories about accidental die reuse, improper die pairing, and transitional maintenance cycles at the mint that created strange strike variations not seen in previous or following years, and some numismatists argue that the 1994 P nickels show some of the most inconsistent strike qualities of any year in the early 1990s, which further supports the idea that unusual production circumstances made extreme errors possible. And while none of these theories have been definitively confirmed by official documentation, the lack of clear records only increases the fascination surrounding these coins because mystery is one of the most powerful forces in the world of numismatics. Collectors also point out that any coin with such an intense international buzz naturally attracts speculative valuations, meaning that while $128 million may seem shockingly high for a nickel, the value reflects not only the rarity but also the cultural and historical buzz surrounding the coin, the way legends form and spread in the numismatic community, and the passion of collectors who sometimes go to extraordinary lengths to acquire pieces that are considered one of a kind, historically significant or nearly impossible to replicate. As we wrap this fascinating exploration of the 1994 P5-cent coin, the combination of reported errors, extraordinary mistakes, speculative mythology, and numismatic excitement has turned this nickel into one of the most talked about pieces in modern coin collecting history, showing that even the smallest and most ordinary coins can rise to unimaginable value when the right mix of rarity, mystery, and collector enthusiasm comes together. And it is stories like these that keep the world of coin collecting alive, thrilling and full of surprises, encouraging everyone to keep examining their change because the next legendary treasure might be sitting quietly in the palm of your hand waiting to be discovered.